Okay, so got it. We are live on social media. This is Reflection Artist Live number 52. So we're getting up there in the numbers, as I always say. I just like to watch it grow, especially with all of our great guests. Like today, we have Shane Mayfield. He is somebody who you may or may not recognize. However, we will get to know more about Shane today. He has been in business for over 11 years, in the industry for over 23 years, and that's auto body related as well. So he has quite the background and foundation of from the substrate all the way up versus just detailing where it's just from the finish up to say. But I want to thank Shane for being our guest today, and we're going to go ahead and dig into how Shane got started in this wonderful world of detailing and where it all came from. Shane, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It's going to be awesome. Be a fun day. So,
Oh, and not to mention, yes, all the other accolades Shane has with, of course, being part of the Air Force One detailing team, Gordon McCall's team, and then just recently through the Detail Mafia, he earned the status of master member.
yeah.
So, which we'll get into what that is and the details on that. But yeah, sorry, I just want to make sure that you got that extra fluff before you got started.
Yeah, no
But
worries,
go
man.
ahead.
Yeah, so I've pretty much been in the automotive industry in one form or another since I've been able to work. One of the first jobs I ever had was a painter's assistant in a body shop. And essentially what that means is like you do whatever the painter tells you and all the grunt work, and you learn how to mask and prep panels for painting and things like that. And it kind of evolved into my love for polishing cars. When you're a painter's assistant, you do the beginning work, like the prep for them, and then you also do the finish work, which means like the denibbing, chasing the runs, sanding and polishing, that sort of thing, and all the finish work. And so that's kind of where my love for detailing came into play, was polishing cars, because I always loved that, that fresh pop from the nice paint and stuff like that. And then
How far back was that? How old were you?
Probably 16, 17 years old or so. I've been working for a long time. I grew up with a mom that couldn't work. She was an epileptic. And so she couldn't work. And so as soon as I was able to have a job, I had to pretty much go to work and do that. And my dad was never around. And so pretty much it was just me. My mom was like I said, an epileptic. She couldn't work. And so I just had to get out there and get to work. I got in some trouble when I was younger, and I kind of learned real quick, like it's better to do it legit than illegitimate, because you always run the risk of going to jail and things like that. So,
yeah. Now that aspect of your life with the paint and body, you said you grew a love for detailing. How long were you doing that for, helping out as the painter's helper?
Probably 3 to 4 years or so. And then the guy, his name's Tom, that kind of taught me that trade. He would always have me detail cars on the side too, like his buddies' cars and things like that, and not like professionally detail them, just clean them up as best I could. Like I had no professional training or a system to go around the car, let's say, or anything like that. I would just kind of get in there and clean it and polish it and do all that kind of stuff. And so I learned to love that aspect of it too. And then I just took it to the next level and kind of learned a system and figured out, how to make money at it essentially.
Gotcha. So once you got into the detail part, I mean, did you just take what you knew and started your own thing, or how did that start to evolve?
So I worked for Tom and a few other shops over the course of from about 18 years old till 25, 26 years old, I want to say. And I just kind of learned from other detailers and learned some body shop tricks and things like that. And my reputation kind of grew for being very, very quality oriented and very good at what I did. And I decided that I wanted to, I didn't like working for somebody else, like most people do. And so I decided that I wanted to go out on my own, and I figured I could make money doing it. And it just kind of took off from there. I worked part-time when we moved to Central Oregon. When I was 26, 27, we moved over here, and I went to work for a guy named Mickey Larson, who owned this big, he builds like custom RVs for people. It's called Twins Custom Coaches. And so he designs like RVs and race trucks for like NASCAR drivers and things like that. So we're talking like really high-end semi trucks that have sleepers in them and custom paint jobs, and we match them to the NASCAR trailers and things like that. And so I learned a ton from that guy as well. Everything from welding and fabrication to fiberglass molding and working on stuff like that, to setting up custom stripes on vehicles and how to use a projector to project it onto a truck to do masking and things like that, so you can make stripes and things like that. So yeah, worked out great, man. It was a really good learning curve, and it was super fun working on really high end stuff like that. Like we used
Yeah,
to
I
do
bet.
the Oakley sunglasses NASCAR truck and stuff like that.
That's
So
cool.
yeah.
That's really cool. Those are some big rigs, though. I mean, that's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
up and down work, and
Yeah.
still has its
Absolutely.
own level of being tedious, to say.
Yeah, for sure. And they're very picky clientele, you know, because they're paying, I mean, we're talking 650,000, 700,000 for these rigs, if not more than that. And so they're very particular on what they want, and they know, you know, they know what they're looking at. So
Yeah, they know what they want, and if you
yeah.
can't meet that, they'll find somebody else who can.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the one thing with building out something, right? You will find somebody who will push the envelope that will meet expectations,
Oh
whether
yeah.
they know how to do it or they just make it happen, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
awesome. So then from there, how did you start Perfection Plus? I mean, where did that kind of
So
evolve?
it started right out of Mickey's shop, honestly. So he kept pushing me. He's a really good motivator, and he really pushes you to. He gets the best out of you, you know. And so he kept pushing me like, "Hey, man, you're too good to be doing this." And at the time, I was working for T-Mobile also. So I'd work at T-Mobile during the day from 6 to 2, and then I go to work for Mickey Larson from 3 to, let's say, 9, 10 at night doing these trucks. And then I would detail cars on my days off, like Saturdays and Sundays and stuff like that. And so my reputation was growing for doing the detailing thing. And then also Mickey was pushing me. And so finally I got the logo and the business card on my truck and stuff like that. And it just kind of, Mickey would let me use his shop to detail out of. And I just kind of grew from there. And he just kept pushing me. And pretty soon I wasn't working at T-Mobile anymore. And I was doing detailing during the day and working for him at night. And then it just kind of evolved into full-time detailing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, when you did start, did you start as a shop or did you start mobile?
So I started as basically like an awning at his shop. So I had this awning. It was kind of like a mobile setup where I had a location, right? So I just did everything. I had all my equipment in the back of my truck, and then I had an awning that I would set up, and then people would come there, and I would detail their vehicles and then get them back to them, you know?
And that would be underneath your brand and your business.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
So he supported you to the point of where even though you transitioned from working for him, you still worked with him, and he kind of gave you a location to start with to build off of.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So he just kind of said, "Hey, man, you can do whatever you want here. I want to see you succeed. You know, here's the space. Go for it." And so I just rolled with it until I saved up a bunch of money, and then I went out and got a building.
That's awesome. See, that's all about relationships right there.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a huge testimony to that, because you just
Yeah.
you don't burn bridges. You know, you may be transitioning in life, right? No matter what you do or where you're at, but you don't burn the bridge. You just take the transition for what it is, a good handshake, knowing that you're going separate directions, but I'll catch you on the flip side kind of thing. And
Oh yeah.
thank you for helping me grow.
Yeah, totally. And me and Mickey still have a fantastic relationship today. And he lives over in Boise, Idaho now, and does custom cars and things like that. And, you know, if he needed me, I'd get over there and help him. Or if I needed him, I'm sure he'd come over here and help me. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You know, all else fails, right? Let's just say business or something goes south and you need a job. That's another reason why you have those relationships, because that's a person that is in your back pocket to give a phone call to be like, hey, and he'd be like, oh shit, yeah, come on over.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
The kind of people who want you to work for them because they know what the work ethic you bring to the table or the value overall of who you are.
Yeah, exactly that. And like Tom Kinney, the first guy that taught me auto body and paint work, you know, me and him have a really good relationship. In fact, he'll text me with stuff when he has questions about things that he doesn't understand in detailing, and I'll text him when I run into an aspect on paint that I don't understand. It like you said, it's about building those relationships. You know, like if all else failed, I'm sure I could call Tom or Mickey and have a job tomorrow. You know, no problem. So
that's a good feeling to have.
Yeah.
Now, you know, once you started to grow your business, you were just strictly detailing. As far as that time frame, were you into coatings at the time, or were you still on more of the traditional applications as far as wax and sealants and just, you know, but more, and obviously you're buffing cars because you came from a body shop background, so that already puts you on that that next level. But where were you at that point?
Yeah, so I thought I was doing coatings and stuff, but honestly, man, I was doing like Teflon sealants. You know, like they had this, I don't know if you ever heard about it, they had this product called TST, Teflon sealant technology. And so it was really popular at a couple of shops where I worked at in California. And so when I moved over to Northern California to Tom's shop, he kept asking me like, hey, what kind of protection should I put on my wife's new Mercedes or something like that? And so I told him, order this stuff called TST and we'll do it. And so at the time I thought it was the bomb, I was like, oh yeah, this stuff's great, blah, blah, blah. But it's just it's just a standard paint sealant. And so, back then I'm like, oh yeah, this stuff's the super durable, the best stuff.
Did you ever find out who made it or if it's still made in the background? Because I'm sure now with who you could probably find those things out.
Yeah. And so I would always do that kind of stuff. And at the time I think OptiCoat was around then, but I don't think there was very many other ceramic coatings, let's say, on the market. I know that, I can't think of the one that all the dealerships used, not Silajet. Shucks. I can't think of it, but it's the typical one that the dealers throw on most of the cars.
Yeah, they have the Auto Butler, the Silajet, there's all kinds of them that they have.
And so I always thought those ones were great, until I started like really getting into the technology aspect of detailing. And that's kind of like when I got into OptiCoat. I used to be a big OptiCoat installer. And so that's once I learned about OptiCoat, that kind of took it to that next level. And then, over time, I just evolved it into, in my opinion, more durable and stronger coatings,
Oh yeah. Now, I mean, when you probably were doing the basics, your finish work was always on point. It was the protection. But do you feel that once you were able to offer better protection with more relevant chemistry, that your revenue just went through the roof?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And at the time, honestly, like most dealers, detailers do when they're new, they don't know their worth and they don't understand their value. And so I was making more money because I was charging more for better protection, but I still wasn't at the point where I understood the business aspect of getting paid for your knowledge and what you do. And that changed along the way. And my whole mentality on business and that sort of thing changed as well,
Did you have employees in the beginning, or was it just you and a helper? How did that work?
Me and a helper. So I had like a side kid that would come and help me. His name was Josh. And so I would just pay him cash out of the jobs or like a percentage, and that helped me do, instead of doing like 1 or 2 cars, helped me do like 2 or 3, and make some extra revenue. And then when I went full-time, I had employees once I decided to go full-time, I probably had 3 full-time employees within a week. It just took off like a rocket ship. Once I started putting ads out locally here in Redmond, like there's a little local magazine here called the Smart Shopper. And it's like, you put a little 1/4-page ad out. And so I put that out with a free wash and wax with an interior detail. And man, that little ad right there just got it going. And pretty soon I was booked out a month and I didn't know what to do. And I was just freaking out,
Just kind of using that as more of a lost leader to get that traffic in. This is who I am. Now, how hard of it was, a lot of detailers have a hard time in that growth spurt, right? The growing pains where they go from having that part-time helper or full-time helper to having to get multiple helpers. Was it a mental struggle for you to overcome that and to cross that line to know that you were going to get that return, or was it or wasn't it? Some people have a hard time with that. Some people don't.
Honestly, man, at first, when I first started employing people, it was the biggest headache in business, like, because each person has their own set of problems, their own set of emotions, their own set of things going on, and when it's their problem, it's also your problem. And at the time I was so young, I didn't really realize
they're going through a divorce. You're going through a divorce.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was the struggle, was like learning to lead these guys. And when you own a business, I don't know how other people feel like about this, but at least for me, when I was fresh and young in business, I felt like I needed to be a dictator and a boss instead of somebody who leads them. So I felt like I had to bark orders and tell them how to do their job and this and that. And so that was a constant, struggle for power. And some of the guys went with it and some of them didn't, and so that was probably the hardest aspect of business that I've had to learn to develop, is becoming more of a leader and motivating these guys and leading them rather than just being a dictator and a boss to them,
No, I agree. It's like being on the football field and you're a great coach and you got your team captain and all that. But I look at it as more like I'm a coach with a taser gun. So that way, if you do something wrong, there's a little bit of that dictatorship that comes out where it's like,
yeah.
Now you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
No, I agree though. Coaching them versus, bossing them are 2 different perspectives for sure. And different ways of accomplishing things. And others, when you boss, you don't get a lot of things accomplished. You get more resistance, right?
Yeah, and you get higher turnover, and then that leads to other frustrations because you're constantly in churn. And so by the time you get a guy trained, he's already so frustrated that he either leaves or you fire him or whatever happens. Then you're just on this constant rotation of bringing in new people. And once you learn to lead and develop and treat people or treat your employees like your family and respectfully, they now my guys have been with me 3-4 years at a time, 5 years, 6 years, so I don't have a lot of turnover, and so that's been the biggest difference.
And that's a huge selling point for a customer coming into your business. When you tell them, like, I've got my guys, let's see, I'm at 6 years, almost 7 years with one. I'm at 10 years with the other, and then 4 years with them. So, I mean, when you don't have turnaround like that, that speaks a whole volume about who you are as a boss, obviously, but how your business is going to be run with consistency and standard operating procedures. Because when you're a small business and you're constantly filtering through employees, there's no way you can sit here and tell me that you're 100% able to guarantee the job's going to be consistent from year now to third month to 6 months to who you have staffed from that type of work consistently through and through, because it's not. It's a staffing issue.
Your quality level is going to go like this.
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to maintain it unless the only way I could see you doing is if you just nitpicked every single car, which in that case you're not going to have time to run other aspects of your business.
Bingo. Yeah, no, I just feel that's a good point to touch on, because it's like I've seen some shops that have great owners and great detailers that are owners, but the employees really make it difficult for them to maintain the level of quality that they're known for. And it's questionable. You get a customer that, comes in and the shop down the street from you does good work, but they also go through employees like McDonald's. There's only so much that can be said, right? Facts are facts.
Yeah, exactly.
But so now once you hit that growth spurt and you were growing, did you with the polishing, the techniques that you knew, and then getting into ceramics, is that something that you allowed your employees to immediately learn out the gate, or did you go through a process of vetting them and getting and building them up to that point so you could watch your business grow, of course, with those services?
So back then I didn't have a system in place. Now, and for the last probably a good 5 years, I've had a great system in place. But when I first started off, I would teach them interior detailing, exterior detailing, and just turn them loose and just hope for the best and guide them and coach them and things like that. Now I have a very set system, where it's basically a 6-month process for you to even get to the point where you're going to touch a car with a coating. You're going to start with prep and you're going to learn all those aspects of it. And then once I feel you should have that down within probably a month, be able to prep a car pretty solidly. Right. And then from there, you're going to learn interior detailing and all the grunt work. And that's going to take you probably another 30 to 60 days to learn that, doing it every single day repetitiously. And then I'm going to start training you loose on a polisher and teaching you a paint gloss enhancement service and a full correction and things like that. And then from there, I'm going to give you the butter work, which is the applying the coatings and stuff like that, So
now, you coming from a paint and body background, when you were the painter's helper, was there any of those services in the lineup that he offered that he didn't let you do, that he held you back on?
Yeah, like on some of the custom show cars, let's say if we did multi-layers of clear coat, and he would run, he would leave runs in a panel. And so there's a technique that you use with a razor blade to shave them down and make them level. And so that's a really, when you're not used to doing something like that, you can really destroy a paint job quick. And so on some cars, like if it's on a lower piece of a car where you couldn't really tell if I messed it all up, he would let me go for it. But if it was in the middle of a door or right below a mirror or something, then he's not going to let me try to shave that. He's going to take the time and do it himself. But he would always
just honing in the blade is already an art as it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I can't tell you how many cars, in that process of learning to sand, nib, polish, take out runs, I can't tell you how many cars I burned through, countless cars, just because I would always push it, and he would always encourage me to push it and try, and like if there was a little wobble, he would say, hey, try to get that wobble out of there. And if I went through it, he would just fix it, and that was one thing I always loved about him, was he might get mad at the time, but he would always push me to do that next step of work. He would never settle for 90%. It always had to be that 110 or else it wouldn't fly, and that's kind of where I get my mentality from.
No, and I asked in comparison to like your process that you execute now of bringing on new detailers and how you bring them up in your shop within that period of executing certain services first so they get better and better, as to where in comparison to like the body shop approach, to where you kind of get thrown in there to learn everything. There's a few things here and there that are super tedious, that can't be done, but there's just different approaches, and I was just trying to see if maybe there was something you thought it's just a matter of what works for you as a business, or because you were trained on everything, and then now you break it down slowly to the other guys.
Yeah,
So,
and the biggest thing that I always emphasize is the quality. Like
yep.
my guys, a lot of detailers get in it, and when they start getting employees and they want to rush them through it because they know, at the end of the day, the bottom line here is how fast can you do the car to make the most money. That's really the basis of
Without
detailing.
compromising quality.
Exactly. But me, I've always kind of thought about it in reverse. I emphasize quality. Like I've always told my guys, I don't care how long it takes you. At the end of the day, if that customer's happy, I'm happy. And that's what really counts for me, to a point where I'll jump in. Like if I can tell they're being blatantly inefficient, I'll jump in and give them tips and pointers. And sometimes I just got to grab the taser and say, hey, get to work, and sometimes that's what it takes. But yeah, for the most part, it's just that relentless pursuit of quality, and not letting up on that. And my guys understand that. And once they get it and the light bulb comes on, they understand, that's why my shop performs at the level that it does. And that's why we have the reputation that we have, is because of that bottom line standard. We don't go below that.
No, that makes sense. And that's kind of the breakdown I was looking for, because that explains exactly what your perspective is and why you go that route.
Yeah, and I get that from Mickey, and I get that from Tom, because they were just relentless at it. Especially Mickey. He was just a solid perfectionist, and he always emphasized take your time, make it right. And that's kind of where I got that mentality from. Instead of rushing through everything and then hoping for the best. Like when the cars leave my shop, I know that the customer's not going to complain. I know that in my brain. I've already been over every inch of the car, or my shop manager's been over every inch of it, and we know that we've brought it to its maximum potential, and they're going to be thrilled with it. There's no doubt in my mind. There's never hesitation before I let a car go.
Yeah, and then if you're looking over it in shop and letting those things, if there is a mistake, you're able to manage those things before it leaves.
Right. Exactly.
That way you're 100% on point once it exits the shop.
Right.
I do the same thing. They always come to me, do you look it over? So I call the customer. that's about the last step before actually calling a customer. Did you look it over? It's like, oh yeah, let me go look at that.
Yeah.
Now, with growth and the employees, now do you have a lot of employees designated to the different types of services, or a lot of them well-rounded now that they've been with you for so long?
So I have 4 really well-rounded guys that can pretty much tackle everything from interior to exterior detailing, paint correction, ceramic coatings, all that kind of stuff. And then I have a girl that specializes in paint protection film for me. And then I have a tinner, and that's what he does, is just tint. And then I have like a combo guy that can pretty much do anything I need from him, paint protection film, tint, detailing, whatever, tires, wheels, suspension, you name it. He's a really good utility guy. And I tend to like the specialist. The well-rounded guys are great in when it comes to detailing, but you really can't have a guy detail PPF and tint, like when you get in those different aspects of this business. It's great to have those guys, but they're not going to have the time in the day to complete all those tasks. You know what I mean? And so having those specialists in place to where one guy's doing PPF while the next guy's getting the interior ready, and then another guy's getting the paint correction done on the back end of the car while they're doing the PPF on the front, that sort of thing kind of goes hand in hand. And once you learn to utilize them for their strengths, that's where you can really make some good money off of a car. We're talking hundreds of dollars an hour instead of just, $75 or $80,
Yeah, no, I like that idea. Now, you hadn't mentioned the PPF and the window tint. With the growth of all the detail, and what point in your business did you realize that would be a great fit for you and add in revenue?
So we implemented that. I think we're going on 3 years now of doing paint protection film. We went and did some training and stuff like that. And it really, I kept getting requests for it for probably a good year, and I would sub it out to other shops and stuff like that just to kind of appease people. And then we decided we were going to bring it all in house and go from there. And it's been a great move, and it's really brought in a higher end clientele, as well as like kind of established us as a specialist in protection of vehicles, not just a detailing shop. And so we've kind of phased out some aspects of detailing and become specialist in the protection aspect.
Yeah. So not digging so much into the soccer mom vehicles that are, just completely nasty.
Yeah.
Now it's more like, we're here to enhance and protect, not do common core cleaning, janitor style. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. There's money in that, but it also,
totally. Yeah. And I send those to other shops in this area, and keep those guys busy. And then I focus on the protection aspects,
Now with paint protection film, just touch on that a little bit for me, because a lot of people think that, there is a new wave of that being an added service into detailing and detail shops. But talk to me about the startup costs and the headache of entry on application and all the things that come with that. Not to talk anybody out of it, but just to give the the reality of getting into that, because it is a much greater cost.
Yeah. So I would say you need somewhere between 20 and 30 grand in total, total cost of getting set up in paint protection film, from plotting, training, getting all the films, getting all the tools, all that kind of stuff. Honestly, I kind of made a mistake when I got into it, and I figured, yeah, 10 grand will get me into it. And that just kind of got our feet wet and got us in just enough trouble to where we had to commit to it. And
Yep.
then I had to make a choice like, hey, am I going to keep dumping money into this and we're going to roll with it? Or am I going to back out and go back to just detailing? And it just worked itself out. We went and did some training. We came back. I got a really good deal on a plotter, which set us up for success there. And then it evolved into getting with Expel, and then Expel sending people over to help us more, to get us going. And then meeting Crystal, the girl that does PPF. She used to be an Expel rep. And so now she works for me pretty much full time. And she does an amazing job. So it kind of went hand in hand and just kind of all flowed down the line, as I started building these relationships with companies and stuff, and then building relationships with other installers, making one connection led to another connection, which led to Crystal, which brought her into the shop, and the rest is history.
Nice. So in the beginning though, with doing the applications before her, was it just you and the helper, or how did that work out?
So it was me. So I took myself, my wife, and four employees to that training. And so we all came back. We had a ton of film that I bought, all some B grade film, just so we could practice. And we would practice tinting and PPF. And before Crystal, it was just me and Riley and Brad, and then this guy named Jet that used to work for me. And so we would always practice, and we could do decent on partial stuff and things like that, but the bumpers were always a struggle. There's a huge learning curve when it comes to any kind of film application, and you just you got to roll with it. Like, one thing I would tell people to do is just, if you can, just charge for materials while you're learning, and just explain to people like, hey, I'm learning. This isn't going to be perfect, but it's a good way to get your feet wet in it, and if you just charge for the materials and eat the labor for a while, or just charge partial labor, just so you're not totally losing your ass, you can really learn, and then you can up your prices from there once you get really good at it, And I think the plotter really helped us out with the bumpers, because trying to bulk a bumper, which is how we were trained, just wasn't happening. It is a nightmare to try it.
Yeah, it's definitely a next level of craftsmanship there when it comes to bulking.
Oh yeah, and
some people feel otherwise, but the majority, yeah, and let's face it, as detailers, with being able to know how to do a job, get it done, and get it out, the kit, 9 times out of 10 is going to allow you to be able to get fit, go, and be done.
Absolutely.
Fit, apply, and be done, and that way you don't have to worry about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's still within standards.
Yeah, totally. And it is a learning curve, like with anything else. When you started out detailing, you weren't the best detailer on the planet until you did it repetitiously over and over again. And that's something that we just learned over time and evolved on, and we just kept pursuing it until we got the hang of it.
Now, with that side of it, is with PPF in general, and watching your numbers grow, have you noticed a growth every year and being able to gain and do more work?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of give you a for instance. So 4 years ago, I was at 650,000 gross for the year, and I'll probably hit $1 million this year in gross revenue. That's our goal. Within the next month and a half, we're at like 940,000 or so. So I hope to do about 60,000 in the next 2 months of total detailing, PPF, and tint.
Well, what about PPF by itself? Are you seeing, as far as your numbers, are they starting to maybe catch up to detailing or exceed detailing?
Yeah, we're about 50-50 right now, I would say.
Oh, wow.
With detailing and PPF. Yeah, the PPF came on really strong. There's not that many installers in this area, and there's one really good installer, but he's dedicated to a Porsche dealership here, and so he doesn't really touch every other car, right? So he does mostly Porsches and high-end stuff that they ship him.
He's tying up with the dealer work while you're getting all the public work.
Exactly. So it really helped. Once I started advertising it, people were like, oh man, we need this done. And so I put together a couple of packages that I based on, what's going on around here. Like we have a package called the Central Oregon Ultimate Protection Package, and it's just a high impact front kit with some mirrors and some rockers, because around here we have a lot of cinder on the ground. And so we do that. So it helps with the rock chips, and using that positioning, it has just really helped take it to the next level. And our reputation has just grown like wildfire. It's really becoming unbelievable. I would imagine within 3 years, I'm probably going to phase out most of the other aspects of detailing. I would like to just specialize in corrections, coatings, tint, and film. If we get that popular to where I don't even have to touch interiors, I'd be thankful for that. I would still always do it. I'd probably have a dedicated detailer, but it would be a real blessing not to have to depend on interior detailing or details in general to support myself and my business.
I know a couple that have done that, but they did that years before they were actually should have done it. What I mean? They did it based on the idea that they were going to just, it's like the person who opens up that first storefront and they're like, all right, I built it, they should come, and nobody shows up.
Yeah.
That's basically, I've seen a couple of detailers where they're like, yep, no more interior work, we're doing all coatings, and then all their coatings slow down and they're stuck a week without work. And it's like,
yeah, my thought is I would have a dedicated detailer. Like I'd probably turn all my guys into specialists, and then I would keep one guy as just a dedicated detailer, and that would be for the long-term clientele that I've had that's kind of repeat, and I would take on some new stuff if it was good, but then I'd be able to be much more selective on what I took on.
But that's what I mean too. That my point is that it would be a prepared scenario. It would be calculated. You would already be in that position. So it'd be like, yeah, you have that choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm building to. And I've seen some of these other detailers like you were talking about, where they just jumped right from, they started doing 10 coatings a month, and they're like, man, if I just keep the interiors out of here, I'll do 20, but then it doesn't work out that way. So then they have to go backwards, And so I just believe in building one step at a time. And once I have those blocks in place, and then once I have the foundation laid, then I'll make the move,
Now with, that you added tint. So tell me about the tint aspect of your business.
Man, tinting is the most frustrating film process that you could ever learn. I can't tell you how many rolls of film I have gone through learning tint, and how frustrating of a process it is. Like you get 99% of the way there, and you leave one little crease in it, or you get done with your last swipe of the squeegee, and you see a hair back there, and guess what? You're starting all over. And it has been probably the most humbling thing that I've ever learned. It's been super frustrating to do, but we get it done, man. It's a good moneymaker. It's a great upsell. Anything that shows up in my shop without the 2 front windows tinted, we always send them a quick text and say, hey, we'll tint your windows while it's here, that sort of thing. So it's worked out great, but out of all the things that we've tried at our shop upgrade, to enhance our capabilities, tinting has been definitely the biggest learning curve for sure. So
yeah, I was expecting that for the PPF side, not the tint side, but
but
both have their
much more.
Both have their learning curve. That's
at least with paint protection film, like if you make a mistake under it, you can at least peel it up and try to remedy the situation.
Yeah.
Whereas with tint, like you can't. There's no way. Maybe with a hair, you might be able to lift it a little bit, but I mean, if you get a crease in it, it's done. You're not getting the crease out of it, or you heat it up too bad and wrinkle it, you're done. There's no fixing it. At least PPF has a little bit of forgiveness to it, and it's a broader, usually a broader piece of film that you're laying, so it's a little bit more forgiving and things like that. Whereas tint, it's like once and done, one wrong cut, any mistake, and you're just done. And that's where it really becomes frustrating, is that you get, like I said, you get that 99% of the way, and then you see that hair, or you see that little wrinkle, and you're like, dang it. And then so now you're just starting all over,
Well, outside of the learning curve of those 2 additional services with PPF and tint, it's definitely been a huge revenue driver, though. As you said, your PPF is about 50-50 with your detail side of revenue. So, I mean, the benefit of adding that just allow you to grow that much more.
Oh yeah. And absolutely, adding the tint brought in more clientele, and then so if they come in for tint, and then we start talking about coatings or detailing or things like that. So to me, everything that comes in is an opportunity to show them something else, some other service that we do, that sort of thing. And that's kind of something I always emphasize with my guys at the shop, and I always try to practice with myself is when I'm interacting with a client, if they're strictly talking about ceramic coatings, And then I start talking to them about paint protection film because they might not understand, hey, the paint protection film offers this aspect of protection. The ceramic coating offers a totally different one. And then why we have it here, we might as well tint the windows as well. And if you need wheels and tires, I got that, So I've kind of become this all-in-one stop for, new vehicles that are getting enhanced, and getting protected. So.
Now, are you have any plans of trying to do anything with a retail storefront with products? I know you already have like a small section, but do you plan on going like full blown with any of that?
Yeah, so that's in the works. If I could, the biggest struggle that I'm having right now is finding more space. So I have two 4,000 square foot buildings right now, and they both only have these 8x8 offices in them. And so there's not much room at all for like a storefront type thing. And so that's why you see, I have that little shelf with my own labels on it and stuff like that. But I would love to, get into a full retail space to where I could actually have a detail distribution set up,
No, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So back it up a little bit then, as far as with your growth with everything, at what point, because of how much you've learned with the body shop and how much you learned in the field as you've grown your business, where did you feel you needed to get training and why?
So 2016, so I'd been in business about 5.5, 6 years, something like that. And I had become pretty successful, but I didn't have what I still was a detailer. I wasn't a businessman. And so I was able to detail cars and I was able to boss people around and make some money, right? And I was making a pretty good living. But I kept seeing guys, in this industry that didn't touch cars, and what they did was manage people and manage their business and different things like that. And so I started looking into different trainings and people that really focused on the business side of this. And so that's when I got with Renny and got training at Detailing Success, and then met guys like you and some of the other guys in the group and picked their brains and really started to learn the business aspect and the management aspect of this. And then from there, I just kept studying you guys and emulating what you did. I mean, I really didn't do anything special. I just kind of took what you guys did, made it my own, and then took it from there, I think that's the biggest thing is putting what you learn into action, not just writing it down and taking notes, but actually practicing it until you learn it. Because, like when you taught me the consultation process, it was a struggle at first. And I was kind of hesitant, like switching from doing over the phone stuff, like every other, Tom, Dick, and Harry detailer does, to doing in-person consultations. It was kind of intimidating, kind of a struggle. And so I just stuck it out until I got the hang of it. And that's been one of the best transitions I've ever done in my business.
That makes a world of a difference.
Yeah.
Just everything,
Yeah.
the experience, the expectations, and the revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I've told guys, at our group meets, and when I talk to people about consultations, I really believe that the consultation is the separator between a specialist detailer and just your average Tom, Dick, and Harry detailer, because 99% of the detailers still do it over the phone and they still do phone consultations. But if you look at a surgeon or a dentist, they don't talk to you over the phone about it. They examine your car or examine your teeth, right? And so that you as a specialist need to be doing that same thing. You need to be treating people like that you're the expert. And when they get to meet me in person, they get to see my shop, they get to see the cars that are out there, and I get to walk around stuff that we've already done and show them examples of our work. And that right there sells itself,
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Now, outside of the consultation, though, process that you learned and you fine-tuned, what are other some additional things that definitely helped your business? I mean, again, a lot of people in the industry, they don't feel that training is necessary, and whether it be through Rennie's like you had gone through, or just in general, the importance of continued education. How much value do you think that gave back by actually sitting around people that, one, were in the group, but two, with Rennie and him pointing out things that you may have never noticed or were going to try before?
Oh yeah, invaluable, man. Like just learning to read books about leadership, about business management, about banking, about financing, about team leading, stuff like that has really just changed my whole aspect on those aspects of my business, like changed my outlook on how I look at things. Like the E-Myth Revisited, that book taught me not to be the worker. It taught me to be the businessman and the manager of the business, right? Or it gave me those aspects to think about in my brain, so that I'm not going in there and wanting to grab a polisher every day and get to work. I'm needing to learn how to delegate stuff and send it to my guys, right? And then finance books, like learning how to budget, learning how to finance, things like that it's just little things like that make huge differences when you really put in the effort to learn those things.
Yeah, and obviously, as you're an active business owner, these are things that you could apply daily as
Yeah.
you learn them. So it's not like you're just going to learn it and lose it because you
Yeah.
don't get to frequently try it, but
Yeah, and
it's
I
a
think that's
daily
what
or
happens to a
weekly.
lot of guys is they get into it like they come. I see this all the time in our group too, and in detailing in general is they come back, from training or they come back from a seminar thing, and they got all these notes and they're all pumped up and they put it to work for a little bit and it doesn't go exactly as they pictured it in their brain, so they bail on it instead of just sticking with it and going through that tough time. That time is where you're going to learn the most at, and you're going to learn the adjustments, and you're going to learn what not to do, and you're going to learn what to do and how to do it, and you're going to learn what to eliminate and what to keep going, and you're going to make that your own process. But you have to go through that struggle to become
Yeah.
successful at it.
Yeah. That time is the struggle. That
Yeah.
time is the whole award for the whole scenario. That's
Exactly.
what they're missing. They're thinking
Yeah.
the end of it. They're not realizing that the in between is all that reward, not the end.
Exactly. Yeah. The end goal is never going to be there. At least for me, the success part comes in the struggle. The success comes from learning and struggling and progressing each day and getting better at what I do. It doesn't come when I get the award at the end of the day. It doesn't come from the plaque on the wall. It comes from all the work I put into getting that,
Yeah. It's like I saw a thing the other day. It said, all these people keep saying about or keep using the term, well, back in the day, things were this way, or back in the day, things were that way. And they don't realize that the moment we're in will be that back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of just, savoring the moment and realizing what you have and what you're doing that will change tomorrow.
Yeah.
And same
And,
thing
and
with
stay in the
business.
course, stay in the course of what you're trying to accomplish. Like you need to have that vision in your head of what you want, and you need to be relentless about pursuing that's the key. For me, that's been my key to success, is just never settling and never saying enough is enough, and always striving to be the best, and not just the best in my area, but the best in the industry, and that's kind of how I look at it. Is not just the best detailer. I want to be the best mentor, the best business person, the best, the best in the IDA, the best at MTE, all that kind of stuff. I just want the best for everybody, and I want to see people succeed. And I think the more that I push to help those guys, the better I become.
No, and that push of growth that you've had, that's I think what's allowed you to land as, being part of the Gordon McCall team,
Yeah.
doing Air Force One. I mean, I know Air Force One, the first time you did Air Force One, you were stoked to be out there because I was on there with you.
Oh
And
yeah. I was jacked, man. I loved it. I loved every single second of being just toasted in aluminum, pitch black every day.
yeah,
Didn't bother me one bit,
you're
man. I
like
was
a
just
kid at
happy to
Chuck
be
E.
out there.
Cheese. You didn't know what to
Yeah.
do with yourself. the
Yeah.
harder you polish, the more tickets came out. You're like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was pumped, man. It's still even doing Air Force One 3 times, man. It doesn't get old. I tell everybody that. They're like, man, you've been doing it for a while now, and you've been part of the team for a long time. And people always ask me, is it kind of the same thing? Well, it's the same planes, but it's always a different task up there, and always a different. What I really love about it is all the new guys that you get to see up there, and you can see the look on their face when they see these planes, and they're just like, whoa, man. And now I was that same guy, the first year. So you get to see it and experience it and watch them grow through it and stuff like that, and get to relate with them and build relationships,
Yeah, no, and that relationship building, I think whether it's that event or any event that you're at a couple days and stay in a hotel or a week, like AFO is a week long, Mobile Tech is a Thursday through Saturday, but you're, anywhere from 2, 3 nights on up to 6 nights with people. That's the advantage you take of being able to get to learn who they are, what they do, and how they do it differently. Because essentially, they're running a detailing business, but they might be doing it in a completely different state, like Texas or New York or somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and
Yeah.
still staying busy as can be. But you get to listen to how they stay busy and why, because of the approach that they're taking with it.
Yeah, exactly. And you could always, and they might have an aspect that they do in their business, like that you've never even thought of. And so that's where those relationships come into play, is, and being able to pick their brains and being around them, is you just get to listen to what they're doing. And then you might get that light bulb that goes, hey, maybe I should implement that at my shop. Or, something might click in your brain to where you tell them, hey, you might think about doing this because I think it'd be very successful in your area too, And so that's where coming in and building those relationships really makes you stronger as a business owner and stronger as a person.
Oh, for sure. Now, as far as shows go, what was the very first show you ever attended, Shane?
SEMA. So I used to go to SEMA 2011 through 15. I went every single year as a auto body and paint rep, or with auto body and paint companies. And then I skipped a year, then went back in 17 with you guys in the Detail Mafia group and stuff like that.
Gotcha. And was that the first time that you walked through the detail side of things and really paid attention, or did you?
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even know there was a detail side.
I mean, we are this small little section at SEMA.
Yeah, we would always, like, when I was working as a body shop guy, we'd always be the guys looking for like Chip Foose and Boyd Coddington and you know, like all those big names, you know, what's his name, Charlie from Boise, Idaho, the really famous painter. So we'd always be, you know, walking around in all the auto body stuff and playing around in there, and then checking all the cars, you know, and of course the parties and stuff like that. But I've never, you know, I never went over to the detail. Like I said, I never even knew there was a detailing side until 16 and 17 when I went there with you guys.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we're here. Don't mind us.
Yeah.
Oh man. But now, did you, once you learned, you know, that there was a side, and you saw, you know, the passion amongst all these other detailers, and then seeing that and meeting people, did a lot of that inspire you on the detail side of things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, between meeting the guys that were really successful in this business and really passionate about it, and were kind of leading the charge in detailing, and then watching the technology evolve in this industry has been, you know, when you've done it as long as I have, we've kind of went from a rotary and a wool pad and a yellow pad and a black pad, and, like, you know, McGuire's 105 and 205 to a million different compounds, liquid abrasives, liquid polishes, diminishing abrasives. I mean, you name it, there's all kinds of stuff out there now. And to watch it evolve and watch how much faster they've made detailing become, and how efficient they've really got these tools and these processes, you know, it has just been, it's been really motivating for me, and really cool to be part of, and watch this industry just do a full 360 and come out of it. And now there's guys out there making, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whereas, you know, when I first started, like, I would bet the average detailing business owner might, at a good day, might have made 75,000 a year, you know?
Yeah. Business revenue, gross.
Yeah, exactly.
Gross, meaning that makes you sick to say it.
Yeah.
No,
sure.
seriously. It's good to see that growth, but that's the thing. And to your point, you know, being able to see the cutting edge technology, you know, going to shows like that was my point. Is it is very important to attend a show. You meet people, but the products, you stay on top of the new development from the manufacturers, whether they're releasing something new or there's a new manufacturer. Maybe you never know, they might make a splash in the industry. There's companies that we've seen come in first year of being in business next to these legacy brands and just blow them out the water on sales with certain items.
Oh yeah, well, think about Rupes when they came out. I mean, they changed the game of detailing forever. The second they stepped on the stage with that long throw, it changed detailing forever. Same thing with the Flex. When the Flex got popular, the Flex been around a long time, but it wasn't popular in the mainstream. At least my understanding. Like, I never even heard of Flex till like 2014 or something. I know they've been around longer than that, but once they became popular, it changed how we polish. It changed the game of detailing. You know, no longer did we have to worry about leaving buffer trails in cars and things like that. Now we could just go to town. You know.
No, and that's the point, is that you're getting there, you're seeing all these things first and foremost. You're first in your market, or if not, you know, maybe one or other two people that might go to SEMA or other shows, but you're first in your market to see these things, to bring them to market, and it helps on that added recipe to the formula of you being successful. Yeah, you know what I mean? It just adds more to get you there, as long as you exercise it, right? As long as you're getting the tools and the techniques and the products to help you get on that next level, because you are offering cutting edge stuff versus your competitor down the street, or whoever your biggest competitors are in your area, to have stuff that works better and offers a better service to them.
Right, and is safer for the vehicle too, which is a huge aspect of it that not many people think of. You know, like with those long throw polishers, I have complete confidence that I could turn, you know, my most rookie guy loose with a car, and very unlikely is he going to burn a car. Whereas if I turn him loose with a rotary, he's probably going to smoke it. You know, so that aspect of it too gave business owners and detailers more confidence in correction work, right? And everybody used to be afraid of you know, using a rotary on a car because you run the aspect of burning through it. Whereas now with these long throws and the forced rotations and stuff like that, sure, you can still burn a car, but it's going to take a lot more error on your part to do it, you know. So they've really changed the game in that aspect as well.
Awesome. No, the machines have definitely taken this industry for a ride.
Mhm.
Now, and then you got the pad companies like ourselves, Buff and Shine,
Yeah.
catching up with the machine technology. Now that we're caught up, now there's the chemical companies making different abrasives that work specifically to the throw of the machine. I mean,
Right.
things are just getting super, super cool. But more unique in regards to being able to dial in the process better to not make it as many steps or as difficult for the end user, which is us, the detailers.
Yeah, yeah, and all the cool, like your guys' blended wool pads and things like that give you like that medium cut as versus just hazing the crap out of the paint, to where with the right abrasive, you can actually get a full correction in one step as versus having to cut down the whole car, then go back and polish it, then go back and jewel it, so you're saving a lot of time and becoming efficient just by having all these different options, as versus I'd say 15 years ago, you basically had a wool pad, a yellow pad, and a black pad, and that's kind of where we were at. And you might have other companies producing pads that very few people had access to. Now any detailer has access to all different, from medium to light cutting to heavy cutting to whatever you need to get the job done. And then it's just a matter of, figuring out which pad goes with which product and what's going to give you the maximum result the quickest,
Yeah, no, 100%. So we are coming up on time, Shane, but the thing I love about this is you have been able to explain the story that, starting from, having great people to work for to working for yourself. And that's where, no matter what the backstory is, you started small, just like everybody else, right? And then you grew. You went from that same aspect of the part-time and full-time employee on up to multiple, adding services in, continued education, being part of the big picture to say, on industry level with, with all your background and credentials within the detailer network, mafia, IDA, all this good stuff. But this is, a true testimony, I think, for you and who you are and what you've become as a leader in the industry to those that want to do that same thing. And that is something where you've told that story. And for those people, it's not hard to duplicate in regards to just doing the same things, but seeing opportunity when you're doing those things for yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And honestly, I don't have a secret tip. There's no magical trick. There's no magical book. There's no phone app I can give you. It's really just gritting it out and wanting it bad enough to do it. And that's really what it comes down to, is just constantly learning, constantly evolving and getting better at it, and not giving up when times get hard. I've been through a ton of struggle, as I'm sure any business owner has, or any person in their life. And I think the biggest difference between me and you guys like you and stuff is that we chose to keep going forward. We chose to keep moving forward instead of just going, nope, I can't do that, and going backwards, and that's kind of a big separator of success, is I think the guys that will persevere through the hardships and go through that time frame of struggle, they come out on the other end and then boom, they just blow up, but you have to go through that to get there. And that's the biggest thing that I think I see in this industry, is all these young guys, they jump in, they make a few $100, a few grand, and then all of a sudden they struggle a little bit and then they bail instead of just keep going through it and evolving and learning,
Yeah, 100% agree. And I was going to ask if you had any advice, but you just covered that for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that works well.
There's just put your head down and go to work, man.
Yeah. Which was awesome advice.
Yeah.
Now, how can people get a hold of you, Shane, as far as get a hold of you and or your business, in case there's any other viewers on this?
Yeah, feel free to reach out. So I'm on Facebook, Perfection Plus Auto Salon, Instagram, same thing, Perfection Plus Auto Salon. You can reach out to me personally on my Facebook page, Shane Mayfield. You can send me a message, or you can always just look me up on my website, www.perfectionplus.biz. Or ceramiccoatmycaroregon.com is another website that I have. You can always check me out there. Yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, Shane. Thank you. Reflection Artist Live, episode number 52. So if you want to share this, it'll be on the Reflection Artist page on Facebook. And then, of course, we have it on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. So thanks again, Shane. And on behalf of Buff and Shine, we want to thank everybody who had the opportunity to watch and or is going to listen at a later date. So much appreciated. And everybody take care.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Justin.
No, for sure, Shane. Thank you. Have a great day.